We're actually in a really interesting point right now because we're getting the 13F filings where we're seeing whether professional investors are allocating to these ETFs. And there are a huge number of really iconic firms allocating to these ETFs.
I have more confidence today than any time in the last 10 years of being in crypto that in 12 months and in 24 months, more institutions will be engaged in this space and the space will be bigger.
These ETFs are being adopted by professional investors. We're learning that right now. And I suspect we're going to see the inflows from that group accelerate in the second half of the year.
BlackRock is quietly becoming one of Bitcoin's biggest whales. Bitcoin ETF Q1 data is in, and the data is mind-boggling. These numbers have blown away records. This information is publicly available for those who seek it. I will update you in this video. Smash the like button and send this info to one friend who could really benefit from learning what's going on with these Bitcoin ETFs. The more you understand, the wealthier you can be. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF numbers have just been revealed. They have attracted 414 institutional holders since launch. Analysts are saying this has blown away all records. We're talking about senior ETF analyst for Bloomberg, Eric Balchunas. He says IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF, ended up with 414 reported holders in its first 13F season, its first Q1 filing, which is mind-boggling, blows away records. Even having 20 holders as a newborn ETF is highly rare. Here's a look at how the Bitcoin ETFs in all compared to other ETFs launched at the same time in January, aka the class of 2024. These are all the Bitcoin ETFs. Look at how they compare with number of holders versus others. Look at the interest we're seeing for institutions to buy Bitcoin. And why not? When BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink comes out and says, we are very bullish on the long-term viability of Bitcoin. Our ETF is the fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs. Nothing has gained assets as fast as BlackRock in the history of ETFs. This creates FOMO among institutions, and we're seeing that. Who are the biggest holders of Bitcoin through the BlackRock ETF? Well, the largest institutional holder of IBIT is Millennium Management, LLC. The second largest is Schoenfeld Strategic Advisors, LLC. And the sixth largest is a U.S. state pension fund, Wisconsin Investment Board. That's notable. And then comparing the other ETF issuers to BlackRock, Fidelity has 235 institutional holders, Bitwise has 98 institutional holders, ARK 21 Shares has 75 institutional holders, and Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has 619 institutional holders. And GBTC is now seeing positive inflows lately, no longer plagued by the sellers of the GBTC Bitcoin ETF that we saw in the first couple months. The total net Bitcoin ETF inflows are back to being positive. After plateauing for a couple months, we are starting to see more buyers than sellers, an uptick in buying pressure. You can see that here. And with all this success, we're seeing more CIOs and CEOs and leadership taking to the press. Bitwise CIO says Bitcoin ETFs are a huge success and their Q1 filings make him incredibly bullish. This is Bitwise CIO Matt Hogan. Listen.
You mentioned that the Bitcoin ETF was the most successful ETF launch in history. That's an interesting claim, but update us on where we are. What's total assets under management, and parse out, of course, Grayscale's, what did they have? 27 billion initially in the whole game. Where are we at, and how is the suite of spot Bitcoin ETFs trading relative to Bitcoin?
Yeah, they're doing fantastic. They're tracking Bitcoin's price virtually perfectly. They're trading at very tight spreads, and they're charging low fees. So for investors, they're often the lowest cost, most liquid, most accurate way they have to gain access to this space. And that's really exciting. We love doing that with the Bitwise Bitcoin ETF and BITB, and our competitors do with their ETFs as well. There's maybe $50 billion in assets, north of $10 billion of net flows. Flows have restarted after taking a few days off. We're actually in a really interesting point right now, Bob, because we're getting the 13F filings, where we're seeing whether professional investors are allocating to these ETFs. Those filings are due May 15th, but they're already a large number in. And there are a huge number of really iconic firms allocating to these ETFs, well north of 500 professional investors making investments, including firms that manage money on behalf of Yale and Princeton and others, firms like Hightower Advisors. These ETFs are being adopted by professional investors. We're learning that right now. And I suspect we're going to see the inflows from that group accelerate in the second half of the year. So from any perspective, a massive success. And I think that success will continue and compound in the second half.
And it's incredibly easy to understand why institutions, even the likes of Morgan Stanley, are buying spot Bitcoin through these ETF wrappers, because ETFs itself make Bitcoin incredibly easy to buy.
And it's easy to see why this is the case, Bob. Everybody loves ETFs, the most popular investment vehicle in America. They're low cost, they're highly transparent, they're very liquid, they're extremely familiar. You can put them in any brokerage account where you can dollar cost average, you can rebalance, you can do tax loss harvesting. Really easy to own and manage, easier than the complexity of Bitcoin directly. And now that they're available, everybody who has always been curious about Bitcoin or has been wanting to do Bitcoin but has found it daunting to engage, now can do so in the easiest way, most familiar way possible. And that's why we're seeing the flood of tens of billions of dollars.
Wide guess here, at least $5 billion a month in inflows going in just in the last 4 or 5 months. That's a pretty good number.
It's by far a record-shattering event. This is, if you compare the flows that went into GLD, which up until now was the record setter for asset flows, these ETFs have shattered the record. The amount of money that has flowed in such an incredibly short period of time demonstrates investor interest in this and the consumer build-up and the excitement behind this. And yet, as Matt has pointed out, relatively few RIA firms or institutional investors or major Fortune 500 companies have yet to participate. This is going to be coming over the next couple of years. It's going to get very exciting.
So how can you not be bullish on Bitcoin? With the Bitcoin halving just happening, we are here, the orange circle. Billionaire investor Mike Novogratz, he sees, and through his fund, Galaxy Digital, he sees Bitcoin ranging in this range for a little bit longer. Eventually, Bitcoin breaks out of this range. I'll let him explain it.
Something really significant happened in the last 6 to 9 months, and that is with the adoption of the ETF, there's been a psychological shift amongst institutional investors in that this is now an industry. And well, we all thought it was an industry for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, people are lending us money unsecured. We've got phones ringing off the hook with potential partnerships. Every big institution is figuring out what tokenization is going to mean to them. And so I have more confidence today than any time in the last 10 years of being in crypto that in 12 months and in 24 months, more institutions will be engaged in this space, and the space will be bigger. Just feels like everything's kicking for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
There's a resurgence of the, oh my God, the economy's slowing down narrative, which will be helpful. Like I said yesterday, I don't think Bitcoin takes out the old high, the 73,000 high, unless we get the Fed in action or we get some big regulatory breakthrough.
Yeah.
And those are both probably low delta. So that's why I think we're a bit of a range.
Yeah.
I said 65, 75. It's a pretty big range. I'm sorry, 55, 75.
It's a big range.
It's probably closer to 57, 73. Like we've probably put the low end, the high end right now until the next move. And I do believe the next move is up because I do think we're going to get closer to the election. Powell's going to want to cut rates.
Hey, real quick, you should join us at Bitcoin Conference in Nashville this year. 10% off if you use the code Altcoin Daily. Link and details in the description. This is the biggest Bitcoin conference in the world. I think this is going to be their biggest year ever. I love the fact that this is in Nashville this year. If you want to be part of the culture, celebrate Bitcoin with like-minded people, and hang out with us, join us at Bitcoin Conference Nashville. 10% off. Use the code Altcoin Daily. Link and details in the description. I hope to see you there. So, I am incredibly bullish on Bitcoin at this point in the cycle. Coinbase's app rank got nowhere near where it was last cycle, becoming one of the top 3 apps. And actually right now, Coinbase's app rank is down 85% from the March highs of this year. However, in the last 2 days, up 17%. The point is, this crypto bull cycle is just getting started. Many more gains ahead. The crypto market remains resilient despite short-term fluctuations. The Ethereum ETF final deadlines for VanEck, ARC21 shares, and Hashdex are this week. The consensus in the industry is that these will probably get rejected. Some people are speculating that August could be a lot better with Fidelity and BlackRock. Their final deadline's coming up. That's true. These Ethereum ETFs could get approved by August. This is actually how I think it's going to happen. I think all of these will get rejected, including Fidelity and BlackRock. BlackRock might pull out last minute because they don't want that rejection on their SEC ETF record. But then, after the August deadlines, they all refile, and then whether it's September, November, December, maybe January of 2025, then all of the Ethereum ETF applicants get approved. That's what I think is likely to happen. These will get approved eventually, not this month, probably not even August, but late this year or the very beginning of next year, if they all refile, I think that's when these get approved. Now, besides that, we're waiting to see if Joe Biden follows through on vetoing a policy that would be ultimately good for crypto. Joe Biden vetoing it would be bad for crypto. We're going to keep you updated on this. My name is Aaron at Altcoin Daily. Make sure you subscribe for daily crypto videos, keeping you informed on everything going on in cryptocurrency. Make sure you check back on any of our videos from the past 6 months. They're still very much relevant. 2024 is shaping up into a great year. See you tomorrow.